Hari Om. Let us now continue with verse 9 of chapter 2. Sanjaya narrates the events to Dhritarashtra. And what did Sanjaya have to say? Sanjaya uvacha eva muktva hrishikesham gudakeshah parantapaha नयोत्स्य इति गोविन्दम् उक्त्वा तूष्णीं बभूवः. Sanjaya uvacha said, Parantapaha, the scorcher of foes, Gudakeshaha, Arjuna, Hrishikesham, to Lord Krishna, evam, in this manner, uktva, having spoken, nayotsye, I shall not fight, iti, thus, Govindam, to Govinda, Lord Krishna, uktva, saying, tushnim babhuva, became silent. Ha, indeed. Sanjaya said, having spoken to Hrishikesha, Lord Krishna, in this manner, Gudakesha, Arjuna, the scorcher of foes, said, I shall not fight. Speaking thus to Govinda, Lord Krishna, he became silent. With these words, Sanjaya informed Dhritarashtra of the most recent events on the battlefield as he had been asked to do. Wanting Krishna to teach him Shreyas, Arjuna had said, I am your Sishya. Please teach me. Arjuna seemed to know the profundity of the word Shreyas, a word mentioned often in the Shastra. In the Kathopanishad, there is a story about a young boy, Nachiketas, who went to Yama, the Lord of Death, and received 3 boons. He encashed the first in favor of his father, who was angry with him. For the second boon, he asked to be taught the ritual for gaining heaven. This boon too was for the sake of others. Lord Yama granted Nachiketas both of these boons. Nachiketas encashed the third boon for himself. He wanted to know whether there was a self, an Atma other than the body, because some people said there was, and others said there was not. He told Lord Yama that he wanted to be taught about this Atma and that there was no one more qualified to do it than Lord Yama himself. At first, Lord Yama discouraged him. But finally, he decided to teach Nachiketas. Lord Yama told Nachiketas that there were always 2 things available to a human being: Shreyas and Preyas. Shreyas is chosen by one who is wise, a Viveki, whereas everyone else generally chooses prayers, prosperity and pleasure, artha and kama. Dharma also comes under prayers. Shreyas, on the other hand, is moksha, liberation, the freedom brought about by self knowledge. Nachiketas asked Lord Yama for this Shreyas. Because Shreyas can be used in both a relative and an absolute sense, it is important to know what it was that Arjuna was asking for. Whether Arjuna wanted it, Krishna understood Arjuna's request only in terms of absolute Shreyas and not in the ordinary sense. Lord Krishna being Sakshat Bhagavan himself. The absolute meaning of Shreyas is absolute fullness. That which is good for me, good for you, good for everyone at any time and at any place. That which was good for Arjuna was equally good for Duryodhana, if only he had ears for it. If Duryodhana had said to Krishna, I am your Sishya, please teach me. And if Krishna had considered Duryodhana a qualified student, he would have taught him in the same way. The words qualified student are significant. Whenever and to whomever Shreyas is taught, it is always taught the same way because it is knowledge, jnana. From Krishna's point of view, the Shreyas Arjuna asked for was this knowledge which is moksha. In the wake of this knowledge, there is no sorrow. Because this is the teaching of the Gita from beginning to end. The Gita is moksha shastra, a body of teaching meant to destroy shoka or sorrow. Knowledge is something that cannot be personal. Although it has to be gained by a person, knowledge, any knowledge, is always true to the nature of the object of knowledge. A very important sentence worth reflecting on. Any knowledge is always true to the nature of the object of knowledge. It is not something that is centered on your personal will, but on the object of knowledge. For example, if the object is a flower, it is a flower. There is no choice in knowing it as anything other than a flower. If there is something more to know about the flower, then you can know it, such as its botanical name, which includes its family and so on. Whatever more you come to know about the flower is always jnana. Because knowledge is always as true as the object, it is not determined by your will. Therefore, knowledge of a thing is not going to differ from person to person. Very significant and important lines to be understood as we go forward. The topic of relative shreyas. What is it? Usually, what is good for you at a given time may not be so at any other point in time. For example, a particular drug may be a cure for your illness, although it is also a poison. So, what is good for you at one time is not good for you at another time. Also, certain medicine may be good for only one problem and not any other. Alternatively, the drug that treats your problem may not be good for someone else with the same problem because of the other person's allergic reaction to it. This kind of goodness is what is meant by relative goodness. Something that is not always applicable in the same way. It keeps on changing. Something that is good is determined by place, desha, time, kala, and nimitta, situation. Even ethics and values, dharma shastra, which we generally consider as absolute, have to be interpreted from time to time because dharma shastra is to be interpreted. It cannot be considered absolutely good. So thrilling to read these words of Poojya Swamiji. Then we come to the topic of what then is absolute Shreyas. If there is something that is absolutely good, it must be something that does not change at any time and is always the same for any person. Let me revisit this sentence. If there is something that is absolutely good, it must be something that does not change at any time and is always the same for any person. That is what is meant by Shreyas here. Arjuna's sorrow led him to ask for this Shreyas. And Krishna understood what he wanted as absolute Shreyas. Absolute Shreyas, called moksha, is the complete acceptance of oneself. Self acceptance implies a self that is already acceptable. If I am not acceptable to myself, positive thinking cannot give me self acceptance. The self is unfolded in the Gita as already acceptable, along with how it is acceptable and how it is free from all limitations. We will explore what this absolute Shreyas is and take our study forward as taught by Poojya Swamiji in the upcoming Gita capsules. Hari Om. ॐ दुर्जनः सज्जनो भूयात् सज्जनः शान्तिमाप्नुयात् शान्तो मुच्येत बन्धेभ्यः मुक्तश्चान्यान् विमोचयेत् सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ